that every single person that's jumped out of this plane before me, if everyone before today survived, right? There's
Yeah.
nothing in the news that says everyone
No.
dies. So if it's impossible to think that the 12 people before me that I just watched go out that door fell to their deaths, that statistically doesn't make
Yeah.
sense. So if it's true that they survived, the chances of me dying is probably pretty slim. So
And how
there you
about
go.
this? This model fear too, like the landing, right? I have my mind like you land, and I land too fast, I break my legs, or something
Yeah.
like that. How's that landing work?
Okay, the landing, they tell you to lift your feet up as you're kind of gliding in towards the end and just basically start walking. Now
Okay.
keep in mind you have strapped to your back an expert who's done 10,000
Yeah.
jumps,
Yeah.
so they're used to moving the parachute in a way that the lift helps the landing. I mean, the first person who were flying in a plane were probably thinking, this is fun floating around up here with the seagulls, but the landing is not going to be very pleasurable.
Yeah.
And then they figured out how to ease it in so
Yeah.
that it worked. Well, skydiving is very similar in that the landing is actually to ease into the ground. It's not like you fall 13,480 feet and the last 20 feet they cut you loose in the parachute and say see you later and good luck as you fall the last 20 or 30 feet. No, it's very easy.
So
Yeah.
I know that it's called the Sonomus.
Snohomish, yeah, Snohomish,
I
yeah.
know my barber does go those a lot too. I have a bartender to come. He said he's been like 3 or 4 times. So
It's
this must be
great.
a really popular one.
It's a really popular one. They're really well rated. I don't know how expensive or inexpensive they are compared to others. I picked them just because I saw their name and I'm like, you know what? Jumping out of a plane over here is the same as jumping out of a plane over there. If they've got good Yelp ratings, it means people survive to review them. So I'm like, I'm good. Let's do it.
And I'm guessing they filmed it all for you
They
and stuff.
film it. Yeah, I
Okay.
think it's an extra $50 or something. But I
Okay.
mean, you're not going to go skydiving and then think to
No.
yourself, I'm going to save money now.
No.
No, I've got
No.
the whole thing, the free fall, I've got
Yeah.
the landing, the whole deal. Yeah, I've got it all on video. So it's
Nice.
pretty fun.
Was that a one and done thing for you? Or
Yeah, one and done. I mean, because
okay.
the thing is, I scuba dive. So that's another thing I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I scuba dive. So scuba diving, once you overcome the hurdle of the expense of buying your gear, if you choose to buy gear, you're in great shape. Scuba diving is very, very expensive to get into if you choose to buy gear. If you choose to rent and you go all the time, it's also very expensive. But if you choose to buy gear, it's expensive. But once you buy the gear, you're good for years, for years. So my point is, rather than jump out of an airplane again, I'd rather put that money into renting tanks and weights or whatever extra accoutrements I needed to go scuba diving another couple times.
And you scuba dive here off the coast of Washington? I can't imagine there's like good scuba diving places here already.
Okay. Well, here's the thing is that if you want to see a giant Pacific octopus, you're not going to see it in a lot of places in the country. You're going to see it here. In order to see the giant Pacific octopus or an octopus, you need to be scuba diving in water that's really cold, which is here. And that's true year round. Summertime is not warm here. Summertime is cold. Wintertime is very cold. Um, Visibility here on a good day, people are talking about seeing 20 feet. When I was scuba diving in St. Martin in the Dutch Antilles, you're scuba diving and visibility is 100 feet, 120 feet. It's like you see forever. Here, there's some days where you're scuba diving and you and I sitting 5 feet apart wouldn't be able to see each other. And that's not the best. So the conditions here are not great. It's what we have. It's great training in a way because when you go to someplace tropical, if you're scuba diving in some Bahamas equivalent, all of a sudden your life is great because the water is so warm. I mean, I was in Thailand scuba diving this last January for
Oh
about
man, I
10
couldn't
days.
man, I bet it's great.
It was
How nice
great.
the water is
Well,
there.
I mean, it was nice. The conditions when I was there were not ideal just because of tides and whatnot. But even then, the sea life, the fish are absolutely amazing. But what was funny is the Thai guides, the Thai dive instructors didn't want to get in the water. They were reluctant to get in the water because the water was only like 70, 72 degrees,
Yeah,
73 degrees.
too cold for 'em.
Yeah, and I'm like, guys, you have no idea. Come to Seattle sometime where the water's 50 degrees and see how you do. So it was nice to have this training in scuba diving here in the Northwest to allow for better experiences elsewhere. So,
Now, I'm guessing do you have to be like a really strong swimmer to be a scuba diver? I
um,
guess you can't be a weak swimmer, right?
I mean, you can't be a weak swimmer. It helps to have some swimming skills and be comfortable in the water. Yeah, it does. I mean, you don't have to be an Olympic gold medal swimmer. You don't have to be able to swim for half a mile, without taking a breath, that kind of thing. But having a level of comfort in the water goes a long way. Because the thing about scuba diving is what you're continually trying to do is be safe and have a safe dive. and whether that dive is aborted after 5 minutes because something goes wrong and you're staying safe, or whether that dive goes 40 minutes because everything goes right and you're staying safe. You want to stay safe in the water, make sure that your buddy, your dive buddy, is staying safe with you. That said, having strong water skills, underwater skills, swimming skills, breathing skills, and that sort of thing is helpful because let's say you and I are scuba diving. If something goes wrong, I want to have rescue diver instincts kick in and be able to save you rather than think to myself, oh, I've only swum twice in my life. You know, tough luck, Jason.
Yeah, I'm
Life
guessing
goes on.
too, something does go wrong. You need to be able to keep your like cool under pressure, right? You don't need to be freaking out and frantically like, oh
It's
my god,
essential
you got to be under pressure.
because if you and I are scuba diving and something goes wrong, say with your breathing apparatus, with your regulator, something goes wrong with your wetsuit and there's a leak, chances are good you're going to freak out. And you might not, right? You might not freak out. You might be able to keep it under control, but chances are good there is the potential that you're going to freak out underwater. And if you do, then it's up to your buddy to keep you calm and get you back to shore safely. So yeah, it's a process for sure of constantly remaining calm and breathing and being chill, even though you're in a very unusual environment, a very awkward and unusual environment. So scuba diving is very unusual for sure.
So what's the longest you've been underwater, or what's the deepest you've gone?
Well, when you're a recreational scuba diver, you are not rated to go extraordinarily deep. Like you're not doing some 500, 500 feet down, 20,000 leagues under the sea, swim with the great squid type of deal. You're only diving typically 40, 50, 60, 70 feet, 80 feet, somewhere in there is pretty typical. You know, up to 100 feet. I can't remember the exact numbers on recreational, but you're going to be in a very unusual situation if you're diving over 100 feet. I mean, certainly. I mean, those are pretty unusual conditions. So I've been down that deep before.